at some point I realized that I'm just giving too much for them and I'm not giving anything to myself. And the fact that my happiness is not my number one priority is something that was dragging me into depression for a very long time.
Mm,
So I started pulling myself out. And as you know, when you do that after you've given so much for somebody, they don't accept it easily.
mhm.
And so they fight it back with criticism. I mean, I was called selfish and heartless and cold.
Yeah.
And all I was doing is just taking care of myself. And at some point, I dwelled into that trap. I actually thought that I was selfish.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and it took me, I was really depressed at some point. I actually tried a couple of times to end it. Like, I'll be very honest with you. Um, but I mean, looking back at it, yeah, it does hurt. And I'm still a work in progress in this
Mm.
because it does affect me until now. Because I still hear it. That's the thing, is that no matter what you've done and no matter what you're trying to achieve in this world, you keep on hearing it.
Yeah.
So,
Welcome to Own the Future, a podcast made for and by changemakers, where we gain the courage to own our story, the freedom to own our craft, and the power to own the future. I am your host, Lucas Grobot, and today we are with Zainab AlSawalhi. And today's episode, when I asked Zainab to be on the show, it was because I saw some of her content about Ticket for Happiness, um, and how she was giving back to the community in a selfless way. I saw in her content and the things that she talked about her desire to have purpose in her life, to make an impact, to leave the world a better place as without attracting attention to herself. It never came off as it's some ego kind of centric act or play for attention. And so that's why I asked her to be on their show. And today's episode, the things that we talk about, was surprising to me. This is probably one of the most heartfelt episodes that we've ever had here on Own the Future. And it's real, it's raw, tears and all. I I hope that you would take some time and really sit back and listen and then reflect back on your life in the areas that you might need to make some adjustments, just like Zainab had to make really hard and difficult decisions. So enjoy this episode with Zainab. Yeah,
I've seen that you've done another one with BD. Abaid.
Orbid
Abaid.
Abdur.
Yeah,
Yes,
such a
that
great
was one of my
guy.
first episodes, and from that episode, he got me connected with Muhammad Kazim. You know Muhammad?
Kazim da Tamashi.
Yes. Oh my goodness, he is. I don't know if you
Brilliant.
know him beyond
Yeah,
just Tamashi, but
such a great. He has so much love to culture, which is something that's amazing.
and what I love about what he's done is it's his love for culture that has enabled him or has caused him really to go back and look at his roots and
Yeah.
how do you repurpose that for a new generation that grew up not speaking Arabic. Astaghfirullah.
Astaghfirullah. Yeah. No, I'm trying. That's why I chose to work at the ministry because I'm bound to speak in Arabic and write emails in Arabic. So I'm getting better.
Oh,
See?
that is a great strategy. So,
Exactly.
so tell me, so growing up, since we're on this
Subject.
subject, um, growing up, your parents spoke English in the home.
No, actually, they spoke Arabic, but they somehow wanted us to strengthen our English. And
Mm,
so they made sure that we speak English at the house and read English books because they really wanted our English to get better.
yeah.
But they spoke Arabic with us.
So when did your Arabic? So you'd say you have your spoken Arabic is like fine. It's more your Fusha.
Well, yeah, well, that, no, not really. I can't express myself in Arabic.
You can't like your deep emotions.
Deep emotion. Yeah, you should see me when I'm trying to express. It's like a salad. Like I'm not able to say one proper word. I just don't know how to express myself in Arabic.
So with all your girlfriends, all your WhatsApp, all your
English,
Instagram, it's 100% English.
100%. If I need to write something in Arabic, it's usually my mom or my husband that help me.
That is so crazy to me.
It's so I know it's bad
Well,
because
I think it's the reality of the world that we live in, especially here in the Khalij.
I feel like because it's really difficult in schools. Arabic is such a difficult and heavy subject.
Yeah.
So a lot of kids, while growing up and going to school, they prefer English because it's so much easier and lighter.
Mm,
And everyone now is communicating in English.
yeah.
Anywhere you go around the world, English is a universal language. And
Yes.
I find my comfort while speaking in English.
Do you feel when you go outside of Dubai, I don't know how often you go outside of
Yeah.
Dubai, do you feel like it's just maybe, Dubai or Abu Dhabi that is more English speaking, but when you get out, it's like, oh, I'm
No.
kind of a fish out of water?
So far, no.
No.
The places that I've been to, they require English. They require me to speak in English.
Okay.
And
So
and even if when we
even like if you
travel,
go to Saudi or something.
yeah, I can't. Oh my God, in Saudi, in Mecca, I can't even go and order something from Starbucks in Arabic. I just can't.
And that kind of makes sense because I mean, have
There
how
are
many
certain,
3 million
yeah, there
people
are
come
certain,
a year?
yeah, exactly. But there are certain words that you cannot say them in Arabic. You have to say them in English.
What are
I
some
don't know, like
examples?
development or learning. What am I gonna say? Learning. التعليم. It's just weird. Development. I honestly don't even know what it is in Arabic. Development. No,
تقدم. That's like advancement.
I don't know.
اتقدم نفسك. اتقدم نفسك.
Um, التطوير.
التطوير.
See, it takes me time.
Yeah.
I need to put it together in a sentence and then be able to say it in
But I
Arabic.
mean, that's not just you. I think we're in the midst of, right, this globalism where
Yeah.
because of media, because of Hollywood, because of technology in the West kind of expanding everywhere, it's connecting everyone together with a common language and a common culture.
Of course, yeah, but it's also part of the school. Private schools are teaching everything in English, and Arabic is what, once or twice a week,
Mm,
depending if you're actually heading to a school that teaches Arabic. Some
mm,
schools don't. And okay, fine, you've got Arabic, you've got Islamic, you've got social studies, which are all in Arabic. But they're not that much. And you somehow, I mean, when I was young, I'm like, where am I gonna use اللغة العربية الفصحى?
mm.
Honestly, where are you gonna use
Yeah.
it other than
Yeah.
emails, official emails,
Yeah.
right? Okay, and reading some Arabic books or Quran, for example, that
Uh-huh.
would be very helpful. But other than that, you just find yourself not really connecting with that language and connecting more with English because you're actually using it on a daily basis.
So when I learned Arabic, I found that the language opened me to a different way of thinking because it's a
Okay,
different way of processing thoughts, right?
true.
You're using different words,
Yeah,
different grammar
of
structures. Like
course.
you can start a sentence with a verb. So in some ways, it gives you new tool sets to think in different ways. And when I try to communicate something in Arabic, I oftentimes can't take my English idea and communicate it in Arabic. I have to like re-come up with that idea
True.
on when my Arabic mind is turned on.
Exactly.
Um, and with that, I found that Arabic opened the door up to understand Arab culture a little better. Now, my Arabic isn't mil bimia, but
But it's better than me.
maybe, but for sure, it's helped me understand the way that the region thinks, why they do certain things, and some of even the nuances within the culture from you not having that kind of as hardwired into you as your mother tongue, as your first
Yeah.
language, the language that your heart is able to express itself in, not just for you, but even for I don't know if you can speak for your entire generation or for all the girls and all the guys that is in your subgroup, in your subculture. Do you feel like in some ways there has been this loss of cultural identity and grasping for a new cultural identity?
Uh, well, I'm I don't know if I can speak on like behalf of family or friends or
Yeah.
the community. I find it so kind of okay. So there are a lot of trends going on, and we're all trying to like find ourselves in a way and trying
Mhm.
to fit in. So
Mhm.
maybe yes, we have lost a sort of um, identity. Uh, however. Like I come from three different countries. So I'm Emirati, I'm Palestinian, and Tunisian,
Wow.
right? And I never felt like I can really express myself as one of those or three of them because I dress differently. I speak different accents.
Mm,
I've got different cultures. So I never really thought like I have an identity of my own because I didn't know where I belonged.
yeah.
But the beauty about it is that you can be all three. That's the beauty about it. You can be all three of them and celebrate them in any way possible. I mean, my wedding had Emirati to Tunisian to Palestinian songs and like performances. My husband is Emirati, Amy, so they speak Amy at the house. We had a lot of Amy songs and traditional
Oh,
performances as well that was part of the wedding. So I feel like yes, maybe we lose ourselves, but at some point, culture is beautiful from whichever culture you come from. As
yeah.
long as you keep you somehow keep your identity.
So you just said two, I mean, really big words, culture and identity. And you're
Yeah,
saying, okay, your culture is this melting pot, but as long as you keep your identity,
as
how do
in
you differentiate those
who you
two?
are as a person, your personality, your
Mm.
characteristics, your
But isn't
beliefs.
that made up in part of your cultural identity?
It is somehow, and it could not necessarily be. I mean, yes, it could be part of your culture, but it also could be the environment that you lived in,
Hmm.
or because of the hardships or the obstacles that went through your life that you have chosen to be something or to follow some sort of a path, whether that's your culture or not. But you just formed your own identity, and that's because of all your life
Yeah.
basically that made you who you are today.
Yeah. So backtracking a little bit.
Yeah,
So you come from, you're Tunisian, you're Palestinian,
and
you're
Emirati.
Emirati, and you, which I don't know if have you heard of the term third cultured kid?
No,
Have you heard of
really,
that?
no,
Dukan show. Are you familiar with the Dukan show?
no.
Oh, they talk about it a lot, which is this, it's you're from two different places, or you're from multiple different backgrounds
Yeah,
with a different culture kind of put in you. So you look maybe Emirati, but inside of you, you have a different culture. And so it seems like they're with the, especially the Western culture coming in the midst of this melding pot of
yeah.
nationality and race, that it kind of births a new sort of subculture of people who are globally connected.
True. I have no problem with that as long as you respect and you accept both sides of cultures.
Yeah. Can you unpack that a little bit more?
So, for example, I'm not like, I'm Emirati and Palestinian, and I'm celebrating both. It's because I accept the fact that I come from two different cultures, let's say
Yeah.
Emirati and Palestinian, and I respect both of them. So, I'm not going to only actually, I'll give you a better example, like my husband and I,
Yeah.
right? So we come from different cultures. Regardless, even if I'm Emirati,
Hmm.
his Emirati culture is so much different than mine.
Right.
So
What What are some of the things you do differently?
well, first of all,
A
they speak.
story. Give me a story.
Well, first of all, they speak Amy at the house.
Uh-huh.
I don't. We speak Arabic,
Yeah.
right? And at some point, we had a discussion, my husband and I, that when we get our kids, uh, are you going to, is it okay for you if they speak Amy? And I'm like, of course. I mean, that's something from your side. I will
Yeah.
not have any sort of objection. And this is me accepting and respecting that
Hmm.
side of your culture.
Yeah.
In return, you need to accept and respect that my kids might end up speaking Palestinian, might end up speaking Tunisian. I might want them to go to Tunisia and visit them,
Yeah.
visit their families over there and so on. So this is, we're sharing cultures, but we really need to understand that, you know what, there are so many people from different nationalities and cultures and religions. We just need to respect and accept them for who they are, not rather than telling them change,
Yeah.
you know,
Like instead of putting expectations on them
expectations and change and asking
to
them
be
to
something they
change.
can't be.
Exactly. I mean, celebrating different cultures is beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, as much as, I grew up moving around a lot. And so I've had to go through that struggle of wrestling, like, what is my
Yeah.
identity? And I think, when, first probably moving here, and even still, there's still part of me that's like, well, I want to be more Arab, right? I want to be Arab.
Really?
Well,
Yeah?
in some ways, because I'm living here, right?
Yeah.
And especially when you're growing up with this moving around a lot, lots of
You
different
just find,
cultures, you're still searching for what's your cultural identity.
yeah.
But I have to come. I had a conversation with a friend of mine this week, and he said something really profound. He's like, "Well, you're never going to be Arab," and we weren't even talking about it. He's just kind of saying in general, like, "You're never going to be Arab." I'm like, "You're right. I need to like let because I had these expectations on myself of how can I do business here? How can I like grow here? How can I build relationships here? Okay, I need to be more like the people that I'm around rather than both celebrating the aspects of who I am and the
Mm.
aspects of who they are. Within that, even what you're saying is like you can't expect someone to be something that they're not.
They're not. Exactly. It's it's part of their right. It's part of their identity.
Mm,
And you can't just ask them within a night and like within a day and night, just please change yourself. I don't accept your culture. It's part of who they are at some point. I mean, I can go on my husband. I'm like, sorry, stop speaking Amy. I don't like it. I just can't.
yeah.
He's been doing it for the past 27 years. Who am I to come out of nowhere and just tell him
Right.
change?
It's his heart language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you see a lot of people throwing those expectations on people?
Yes. We have a lot of sorts of expectations, especially when it comes to marriage between, partners.
Yeah.
I mean, you love them for who they are. Accept them for who they are. Don't ask for sort of changes that you know will be a burden on that person.
So how do you see the difference between and the language that I use is, there's your true self
Yeah.
and then there's your original design.
What
And
do you
so I think people and this is one of my like kind of greatest pet peeves is when people are like you need to be true to yourself. I'm like you don't want me to be true to myself.
Yeah.
Like wait, you're saying like I should just stop the fight of development to grow into the person that was created and born to be to something great and I should just allow myself to be grumpy and angry and true to myself? I should just allow myself to be selfish. I should just do whatever I want. And so how do you see the difference in your marriage or in the relationship with your friends or even as you raise kids? How do you see that tension between I'm going to accept you and love you for who you are with your quirks and I'm going to call you higher cuz I see something greater in you?
towards my family?
To whether it's your husband, because you're talking specifically in your marriage of like, okay, I'm going to accept you for who you are. Do you feel, and maybe you don't feel, but do you feel there's a tension between, okay, I'm going to accept and love you for who you are, even if you don't change, but you were born for something greater. You were born
Yeah.
for
Oh
something
my God,
higher.
that's like my entire, struggle with my husband. I tell my husband I'm also your life coach.
How
I'm
does he
not
like
just
that?
he doesn't like it. Um yeah, I understand what you're saying. For example, my husband has so much potential than he thinks he does,
Mm,
and he's been put on earth for something so much greater, and he's unable to see that. He's unable to see the potential that he has, the talent that he has,
hmm.
the fact that he's able to make people laugh just by having a conversation,
Yeah.
right? So it has been such a struggle for me to keep on like pushing him and allowing him to see that. So yes, I did accept him for who he is, but just like everybody else, we're all a work in progress.
Yeah.
And so on a daily basis, we're working together in changing a sort of perspective that he has on himself.
Yeah.
Um, but I did accept him, which is why we're working
Right.
towards it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, and it's just a work in progress.
And so with that, I really like how you articulated that even with your husband. And I know in your story, as you have grown and fought to pursue the things that you're pursuing,
Yeah.
you've actually had people kind of on the other side of saying, actually, Zainab, you don't have the potential. Actually, Zainab,
Yeah.
you're going to be hidden underneath trash. Like you're never going to overcome. You're not going to be. You're too different. That's not.
Wow, that's deep, man.
No, this is what you said. This is what that's. I wrote it read
Yeah,
in your post, and I see
yeah,
you tearing up
yeah.
right
It
now,
hurts, man.
and it's painful.
Yeah.
How how did you deal with that? What were some of the
Um.
conversations that you had?
Well, it was when I just started recently in my university, and I was pursuing something different than the expectation. Like every family is expecting their children to be either engineers,
Mm,
doctors, architecture, and so on. And I pursued interior design, which is like the creative side that does not apparently need much work.
mm,
Regardless of everything that people have said about me, it did hurt a lot. And at some point, I was trying to prove a point when I was in university, and I was really, really, really working hard on that major, and I loved it. I had so much passion. I mean, the moment I entered your house, I'm like, wow, I really like the decor of the house.
saw my wife.
Yeah. And I'm actually very blessed that I went through it
Mm,
because it made me who I am today. But it wasn't taken so well with my family and my other sisters. Two, one of them is an engineer, the other one is a dentist, and the third one is a geologist.
mm.
So that's something in comparison to what I've chosen to go
Right.
for.
They're very much in the sciences, and you kind of chose something more
Yeah,
art.
or more art, which is like, what will that do for you in the future? Like, you're not gonna reach anywhere in your life.
Mm.
And I took that as a challenge. I actually did, and I just pursued it and kept on proving the opposite.
So did you say when in that conversation,
Yeah,
is it like stuff they literally said to your face, like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you're just gonna
yeah,
be hidden underneath a trash
yeah,
can your whole
yeah,
life?
yeah. It's a phrase that up until now, um, I can't forget. Like you just saw, I just teared up.
Yeah.
It's as if it happened yesterday.
And what was your in that moment?
In that
How did you respond?
in that moment, I just stayed quiet, and I literally said inside of me, I'm like, I'm gonna show you. Just wait and watch.
Mm,
I'm gonna show you because you can say whatever, but I know myself, and
mhm.
I know that I will not remain underneath the garbage bin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's the
So I have like 30 different questions, but what is the vision for your life? What is, when they're saying that, you're saying you're not gonna be successful, what is the image of success in your mind? Like, how do you define success? Because obviously it's not to become a scientist
no.
or maybe, have some really great career in science. I don't know. But what is the vision for your life that you say, this is what is going to make me successful? It's not, obviously, you're not trying to prove yourself successful based on what they
Uh,
think
um,
is success.
yeah, definitely not based on money or a job. My vision is to leave a mark in this world,
Hmm.
to leave Earth knowing that I've left people inspired, motivated to do good. That's
Hmm.
all I care about. And that's like where I want to head to. I want people to mention my name. Oh, this person is the reason that we're doing this for others.
Mm,
That's all I care about.
yeah. How are you going about to do that? Like, what's so your big vision is I want to change the world. I want to
Yeah,
leave a mark on
I want to leave a
people.
mark. Yeah.
How
Well,
how are you going about that?
Well, I started with my first initiative called Ticket of Happiness, which
Hmm.
is leaving kind, uplifting messages on people's cars, and it was based on RTA, the fines that we get.
Yeah. How
And
did
I
you come up with the idea? Like,
I
what
was
was the first moment like I should do that, and that actually turned into like you
yeah,
executing?
so I was on Kite Beach
Uh huh.
walking, and I was looking on my right side where the parking lot, and I was seeing the man going from one car to another and
Yeah.
finding people, and I remembered how painful that was, especially
Oh
when you're
man.
like 5 minutes late or you actually forgot to pay. Not you haven't done it intentionally. You actually did forget.
Yeah.
And at some point, I'm like, how come? I mean, we have all those initiatives like for happiness of our community, but then there's only one thing that can turn someone's sadness into happiness. So why not, instead of leaving a fine on that car, the RTA man could leave a happy ticket instead and say, for example, written on it like, we know you're busy. We know you might have forgotten. How about next time you just do the payment?
Mm-hmm.
Something that's, making the person feel like, oh, guilty, like, oh, you know what? Yeah, he's right. You know what? Next time I will take the responsibility and I will pay.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And while I was saying that, I'm like, why am I going to wait for people to do something when
Yeah.
I can do that? There was a quote: if you want to see the changes in others, you need to be that change,
Yeah.
something around
Yeah. If
that.
you want to change the world, change yourself, sort of thing.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, sort of thing. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm tired of hearing people, when will the world become better? When are we going to do this? When are we going to do that? I'm just going to take the initiative. But I didn't.
Mm.
I had that idea since January, and I only launched it in 1st of May. I was actually very scared.
And right now we're in we're in mid-October.
2017, actually. That
Yeah.
was May 2017 when I launched it. So now it's been 2 years.
So 2 years.
It's been 2 years.
So you waited 4 or 5 months.
4 or 5 months until I launched it. Because I had that fear that people might not accept it, might see a ticket on their car and they will just throw it rather than reading the words that I write on a daily basis. And I kept that fear on. And something also happened during my previous job, which just left me like unease.
Mm.
And so the next day I just said, you know what, I'm not gonna let people keep on telling me that I will not be something, or I will not, I'm not happiness, or I cannot be this and I cannot do that. So the next day I just called my husband. I'm like, you know what, I'm doing it. I'm just gonna go right now. I'm gonna get some papers. I'm gonna start writing. I'm gonna put it, regardless of the reactions of the people. I'm just gonna do it.
So you just got a notepad and just started
It
writing
was,
notes and
yeah,
sticking
brown
on.
paper, and I bought them from Creative Mind. They had a certain shape to them, and I
Mhm.
started writing. And from the front, ticket of happiness; from the back, assertive message. And I would go around and give it out on people's cars,
And
and I would hide.
you'd hide?
And I would hide
Would
because
you try to like see their reaction or
actually I would hide so that they don't see who that person was, because I was scared of, again, the reactions.
have you had like really bad negative reactions, like people mad?
Only one person actually so far who told me, "How will this make me happy?" And I'm like, look deep inside of you.
Like, actually, if you're asking that question, nothing's gonna make you happy.
No, exactly. I'm just trying to uplift you. I'm trying to be there, that comfort
Did they ask
voice.
you like face to face, or they like later
Yeah.
find you and or
No,
they
no.
see you put it?
Face to face. One of them was face to face. The other ones have seen me put it, and then I would just drift away, and I would see the smile on their face. And some of them would actually take it and show it to their partner if they're in the
Yeah.
car with them, take a picture and just hang it in the car. And that made me so happy, because
Wow.
people can go back to it every single time they're feeling down
Yeah.
and they need that sort of reminder.
Yeah.
And it's just right there for them.
What has and I actually found you through Ticket of Happiness.
Yeah.
Actually, you placed an ad on Instagram. I saw the ad. I saw that who you're married to. I'm like, oh, I've been following him for like,
You have?
yeah, I've been following him for like probably a year
What?
plus. Yeah.
No
So
way.
I was like, oh my goodness, this is great. So what has been the general public's, like, what is the feedback that you've been getting from it, from
Um,
your project?
Well, a lot of positive
Mm-hmm.
reactions from the community. Actually, I have a lot of them that are currently writing some tickets for me
Cool.
and putting it out. I even have a collaboration with Kino, the car washing app.
Yeah,
So after every wash, you get a ticket of happiness
I
as a
saw that.
surprise.
That's
Yeah,
really
that's
cool.
very cool. And I'm just enjoying it right now. So I focus more on the positive aspects. I know that I cannot satisfy everybody,
Yeah,
and that's something like it's a truth at the end of the day of life. You just cannot satisfy everyone. So I work on whoever is interested.
yeah. It seems like going to the point of not satisfying everyone.
Yeah.
It seems that in your story, you have at every turn you're facing a lot of criticism. You're facing a lot of people
Um,
saying either whether you can't do it or you're doing it for selfish reasons or
because I was the glue of the family. I was always there supporting them. And whatever they want, I'm there to please. I'm there to satisfy. I'm there to be the messenger between my mom and my dad. For example, they're divorced, so I was literally the messenger in between.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It's a blessing. I know it's a blessing. I was the backbone of the family,
Mhm.
and at some point, I realized that I'm just giving too much for them, and I'm not giving anything to myself. And the fact that my happiness is not my number one priority is something that was dragging me into depression for a very long time.
Mm.
So I started pulling myself out. And as you know, when you do that after you've given so much for somebody, they don't accept it easily.
Mhm.
And so they fight it back with criticism. I mean, I was called selfish and heartless and cold.
Yeah.
And all I was doing is just taking care of myself. And at some point, I dwelled into that trap. I actually thought that I was selfish.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and it took me, I was really depressed at some point. I actually tried a couple of times to end it. Like, I'll be very honest with you. Um, but I mean, looking back at it, yeah, it does hurt. And I'm still a work in progress in this
Mm.
because it does affect me until now. Because I still hear it. That's the thing, is that no matter what you've done and no matter what you're trying to achieve in this world, you keep on hearing it.
Yeah.
So,
So when you're in that place of a lot of pain,
yeah,
um, and depression and hopelessness, where you feel like you don't have support,
of course, no, not.
how did you? Well, I mean, to maybe you did have support. I don't know.
I mean, now I do. My husband is my support.
But before,
But
when you're in
before,
that place,
yeah, before I didn't. I actually had many people against me until they were able to see the truth, until they were also dragged in the same place
yeah.
and they saw that they're unable to be happy and to focus on themselves. And that's where they were able to see the truth and support me then. But after what? After I suffered a good amount of years.
What was those first action? What was those first steps that you took in your depression, in your pain, in your realization and coming to of realizing that I am living my life to please other people and I'm actually not taking care of myself. What was some of those first things that you did to begin to put up boundaries in your life? Can you
Um,
think back to that time and
Well, I cut people out of my life. So there were certain people that were the reason behind most of the problems. And I remember I sent that person a message and I said, you know what? My peace of mind is my number one priority. My love for my mom and my sisters and my dad is also my number one priority. And honestly, I'm so tired of all those issues that you're creating. And I'm done. I'm honestly done. And I sent that message. That was the last message towards that person. I blocked and
mm,
I don't speak to that person unless I see them.
mm,
And that's when I just say, hi, how are you? But
and
that's
just
just
respectful and
exactly just part of my respect and my manners. But more than that, I don't give anymore. I
did
don't just give
did they
anything.
understand it all?
No. No, until today, they're creating a lot of problems. Until today. I mean,
Wow.
they're trying. I'm not letting them.
Yeah.
They're trying. The second step I took was I uh, blocked myself from everyone. So I wasn't really mentally, emotionally, physically there. I would spend most of the time alone, just
Mhm.
trying to really understand myself again. I would take walks at the beach. I started doing my vision book,
Mhm.
where you put all the things that you want in
Yeah.
that book. I started having a life coach
Mhm.
that would somehow guide me. Um, and slowly, 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 you would somehow get better and you would find yourself. But it just needs time. It took me 2 years to find myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It takes a lot of
it
time
takes a lot of time and
and a lot
it's
of work.
a lot of work.
Were
And
there times after you cut this person out, I'm assuming that you had to with all those things, you began to learn how to draw boundaries and say no and know what you needed to say yes to and what you needed to say
mm,
no to. Were were there were there times in your life that you questioned that decision? You thought like, maybe this isn't what I should be. Maybe I'm wrong. Did those self-doubts come up?
oh, yes. Definitely. All of those things came back. Until today, they come back. Like the other past 2 weeks, someone asked me if, I could make it up to that person. I would just go and apologize and like make it
You're like,
and fix
apologize
it.
for what?
And they actually made me feel guilty,
Mm,
thinking like it was my fault and
yeah.
I was the reason behind it. And I had a 2 day breakdown. And at some point, I had a talk with a friend who told me, "You're not obliged to make someone else happy for your own misery.
Mm-hmm.
You've done what you've done because you knew that these things are needed, and your peace of mind comes first. And oh my peace of mind has been my first and number one priority. So I had to go and say no again.
Mm,
But after what? After me breaking down, thinking that it was my fault, thinking that I was selfish, thinking that I could be a better person to
mm-hmm.
whoever asked for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially within our culture, where your parents are should be your number one. Your parents' requests should be taken very importantly. And sometimes you reflect back and say, but I haven't done anything bad to my parents, and I speak with them with respect and manners. But there are certain requests that I cannot somehow do anymore because they're affecting my own
Mm-hmm.
happiness. And I doubt God asked us to put my misery um, before my parents' happiness.
Yeah.
I mean, no. Yes, my parents' happiness is number one, but also my happiness. So we need to come up with some sort of like an agreement on how we both can live.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been a struggle. And the thing is, it's not even regarding my parents, it's regarding another person that is doing all of this. And so at some point, I had to tell myself, who is that person? They're not my mom and they're not my dad.
Mm.
Neither are they my sisters. So I'm sorry. No, I had to say no.
Now, I mean, as my wife and I have gone through um, some very similar things to what you're describing, and so I'm kind of asking the question out of
Yeah.
that place. Um, did you? Because there is that tension, right? That not only have you described, but you're actually living out too, where you're saying, well, I want to live a selfless life, one where there is some measure of servitude or serving or not putting yourself first, but putting others first, right? And that's
No.
the ticket of happiness. You're trying, and even there's that one post where you said, "Oh, I learned that I need to actually be okay of showing people that I'm doing this and that not just hiding it." So there is in your heart, there's this desire, and I think it's a right desire to be in the shadows, to do your work in the shadows, to do it not to get your own recognition, but to serve and
Yeah.
to be kind and to love and to uplift and leave an impact on others, even if they never know that it was you that made the impact. And then there's the other tension, the other side of it, where I know my wife got a lot of this criticism, which was, oh, well, what about for us it was more family, but what about your family? What about me? Like you are trying to be kind to then that person, that person, that person. You're so kind over there. Yeah, I know the real you. You are not that. That's a facade. That's a fake. You're just trying to show off. You're just trying to get attention because really you don't want to fix this relationship that you're wrong in.
I get that every single day. Literally. Exactly what you just said. I get that every day. And sometimes from my own sisters. Oh, yeah, but outside you're this kind to people. Oh, outside you're that positive. But when you come home, you're like this, you're like that. I'm like, because of the situations that sometimes I'm being put at. I'm kind to outside. That does not mean I'm not kind to you guys because I'm kind. This is who I am. I cannot just be kind here and unkind there. But there are certain expectations from family that sometimes, like for example, with me, I cannot keep on saying yes. I've
Hmm.
already done that for a very long time. And if I keep doing it, my sisters or my family will not become the independent, you know, people that they need to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
They need to be independent. They
Yeah.
need to make their own choices. They need to learn. They need to do mistakes in order for them to grow. And if I'm just there all the time, what is that going to serve them?
Mm,
Nothing.
mm.
And so this is a perspective example when
Yeah.
it comes to my family. Oh, you're kind outside, but you're not kind here, and you're not giving us, your everything. And I'm like, but I'm trying to give everyone my everything. I'm
Mm.
even trying to give myself, but there are times where I don't even have time for myself. So I'm giving
Yeah.
you guys, I'm giving my husband, I'm giving my husband's family, I'm giving the community. I'm actually doing my masters at the same time. So I'm trying to put everything together to please everyone. And no matter what you do, it's never enough. That's the truth. It
Yeah.
will never be enough.
Yeah. I think it's an important thing that you hit on. It's learning to create healthy
Boundaries.
boundaries in your life.
True.
And people who don't have boundaries will say, boundaries? What's boundaries? Like,
They won't
I'm
like it.
your fill in the blank, whether it's I'm your coworker, I'm your boss, I'm your spouse, I'm your friend, I'm your mom, I'm your dad, I'm your
Yeah.
sister, I'm your brother, I'm your aunt's nephew's
But there's
neighbor.
but there's that pressure of family. Oh yeah, but
There's
you
for sure
the
family.
family is, oh my God.
And so I think that's an important distinction to make of how when you are in an environment where you have allowed, because boundaries are violated because both parties allow those boundaries to be violated unless, there's extreme circumstances, of course, where there's abuse involved, right?
Yeah.
Um, but often it's codependent relationships where like you were the one that was saying yes for your whole childhood, right? Until you came to yourself and realized, okay, this isn't healthy. I need to say no. So part of it, there's that tension again. Truths are held in tensions. Um, Part of that truth that you're living out within your family is they're saying, well, you're giving out here, you're being so kind and generous here, but then you're in a different environment where you are still learning to set those healthy boundaries for them and for others. So you're not
That's true.
enabling, so you're not triangulating, so you're not.
Yeah.
But then there's the other side as well, um, of yeah. So I think that's the important distinction, that there's those two truths held in tension. One, where, okay, it seems like you're acting different in two different situations.
But it's just because you've learned to say no over here and you got used to it
Hmm.
and you've worked so hard, but then on the other side, you're still that work in progress to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're still developing
Yeah.
those.
And yeah, and it's easier. I don't know if correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think it's easier to say no to family than when to strangers because strangers expect certain things out of you. So
Hmm.
I get all those comments sometimes. Yeah, but you're supposed to be all about kindness. Yeah, I'm sorry, but if you disrespect me, how do you expect me to be kind to you?
Hmm.
So there's those sort of expectations that are put out there because you represent a theme of kindness,
Hmm.
and I'm actually still struggling over there. So I get like criticism or certain sort of comments on my Instagram account, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, but I have to reply back, even if it seems a bit rude. Just have to stand up and not accept such sort of comments at me. And then at some point, I would reflect back on it and be like, yeah, but I'm supposed to be representing kindness. I don't think I'm allowed to do that. What if
Mm.
people think of me in this way? I was struggling.
Yeah.
At some point, I realized no, when people take advantage of you, there's a difference between kindness and allowing people to step on you.
So that goes to my question, and I don't have a. It's not like I have an answer for the question, but it goes back to how truths are held in tension. So there's one truth um, which is let your good works be seen by men, so that people will praise and like glorify God, and so that they will go and do the same, right? So they'll role model after you. And then
Yeah.
there's the other truth, which is don't let your right hand know what your left hand's doing. Do it in secret, act in secret, so that God, who is in secret, will see and reward you, and that you're
Yeah.
not getting the praise of man, because then you've got your reward. Everyone says,
True.
"Mashallah." Well, there, that's your reward. There, it's done. And so there's that tension that we've kind of touched on a little bit. And then there's the other tension of, so for me personally, I find myself in a similar way. Okay, I need to give to strangers, but oftentimes I can find that I'm so busy trying to make that impact and give to strangers that I can be short or grumpy with my kids, or not being as giving towards my boys. And so there, I feel like for me personally, I could and sometimes do draw these excuses of why I'm not or why
Yeah.
I'm grumpy. And so how do you when really it's like, well, actually, no, I'm just wrong. Like, well, actually, I'm I have more to grow as an individual where even though I'm being taken advantage of, even though I'm maybe my boundaries are being violated, how can I still maintain who I am as an individual, maintaining boundaries, but still living in a selfless way? Those are things that I think about. I don't know if you have an answer, if you
I'm
think or
no.
deal with this as
I
well.
deal with this all the time, but I honestly don't have an answer. I feel like the only answer that we can get is reflection and self-awareness, and
Mhm.
just working on that specific moment, just working on ourselves. So yes, there are times where I'm outside, I'm giving and not different, but somehow kinder, and then I would go home and suddenly it would come out on my husband,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
I mean, that's like, I mean, it's very human, I would say. But I don't understand why sometimes. I feel like, I don't know, I don't have an answer. And there are times where I go like, yeah, but it's not his fault, Zainab. Like maybe you're looking at all the stress that you've been going through, but it's not his fault. I mean,
Yeah, you're just lashing out
yeah, I'm just,
on
or maybe
someone.
it's because it's our comfort. He's our comfort. Like my husband is my comfort, and so I would want him to hear me out, and I want him to know about everything. And there are times where it just like lashes at him. I don't know.
Yeah, but so I agree with you. It's like, okay, well, that's like because you feel comfortable there.
Yeah,
But then if wouldn't you then wouldn't it be relaxed? Like, wouldn't it be opposite of
yeah.
like this is my most important relationship? I should be treating it opposite when really it's the kind of those walls have fallen down and the
I feel like because your partner knows so much about who you are,
mm,
right? So he knows if at that moment you've done something, you've said something, or you've laughed, or you were angry, or you were grumpy, or whatever. He knows that it's just temporary. It's just a second, and she'll be back to herself. I mean, at least I hope that my husband thinks that.
so
But yeah, that's I hope so.
yeah.
Um, so I think that's because he knows you, and I mean, he loves me and everything. But on the other hand, strangers, do they really know anything about me? They can judge me within that 1 second.
Mm,
So I have to show them, and not show them. I have to be patient with whatever with whatever that is going on with me, and just be myself in front of them. And if I have anything else that's bothering me or something, that can go back home.
mm,
That's why I usually tell you, don't bring your problems to work. So you're different at work, right?
yeah,
You are different at
yeah.
work rather than when you're at home. It's because again, home is your comfort. Your home is whoever you want to be, and there's no judgments. The person that you've married loves you, accepts you, and knows that maybe you're going through something and you're just gonna overcome it and you get back to yourself. So I feel like that's the comfort.
Mm. So yeah, I agree. I think that is the comfort. Um,
It's
but
so difficult. There are no excuses. I'm not
so
saying there are
yeah, yeah.
excuses. There aren't any sort of excuses to
I'm
be
glad
that.
that you said that. I
Yeah,
wasn't actually going to go there with that, but you're right. There's no excuses.
yeah,
I think we need to like because so many people do then roll into those excuses of
yeah,
saying, well, when really it's like actually that is a there's the word the word sincere. The original meaning of the word sincere comes from this, I believe, an ancient Greek word, and in pottery they would if there the pot would have a crack, they
yeah.
would take wax and they'd fill the pot with wax so that you can put cold water in and the water wouldn't seep out. But the way that you would see if a pot was sincere would be you'd hold that pot up to the light and you turn it to in the light to see if there is any areas where you could see the light coming through
Yeah,
of that wax, and if it was, there's a crack in the pot, and therefore the pot wasn't sincere because under pressure, under any heat, that pot would
it would
break
just
and crack
explode.
and spill. And so I
Yeah,
think when those things are happening in our lives, in my life, I then look at that and say, I have not developed into a sincere person because there are still cracks in my foundation.
Yeah,
And that is an issue. And if I don't deal with those cracks in my foundations, especially in our marriages, um, sooner or later the foundation will break.
sure. Which is why self-awareness and reflections are very important. And again, you're a work in progress, but I'm hoping that we fix ourselves before this can go on to our own children and we build a generation with
Yeah.
all those cracks and
Yeah.
scars and all of that.
So how do you go about fixing yourself? How do you go about not passing that down from generation to generation to generation?
I wish I have an answer. So far, I'm just talking to myself. Every single time that things happen, I reflect on it. I speak with my husband. I tell him I'm sorry. I understand this happened
Mhm.
because of this or because of that. Um, and I try my best not to let it out. I try not to keep it for too long. I feel like when we keep it for too long, it just like explodes, and the
Mhm.
first person that's in front of
Yeah.
you just goes right to him,
Yeah.
which
You
is
need to keep short accounts,
woof.
as we say. Short accounts.
Yeah. But so far, I'm just trying to work on it. So I take each day on its own, and I just focus on that and I work on
Mm.
it. So if I've done something today, for example, I would reflect back on it and try the next time. Um, I wouldn't do that. For example, I used to get really frustrated when my food comes late. I'll be
Mm.
very honest with you. I actually once said it even on Instagram. Um, and until I had to learn what these guys go through, that I had to reflect back on it.
Mm.
And I sat down with myself and I said, this is not acceptable, Zainab. They're trying their best. It takes a lot of time. They go through on a daily basis. They go through the heat, the humidity,
Yeah, they
the
do.
danger of just driving.
A motorbike in the
Oh my
city? Oh
God,
my gosh, so
yes.
dangerous.
Um, and on top of that, you're just mad because of 15 minutes being late or 20 minutes. And I used to be that perfectionist. Like they said it's going to arrive in 50 minutes. It's 51 minutes right now. Where's the food? Like I used to be that. And now that I order, I just let it be. I don't even look at the time anymore. I just let it be because I know the most important thing is the man got to my house safely. And that's
Mm.
what I care about. And it's made me realize like right now I have so much awareness when I'm driving on the roads and I see them. And there are times where I don't even like to drive behind them anymore or like have them in front of me because I just fear them. I fear something might happen to them,
Yeah.
whether it's from my side or someone else's side. So, we're always a work in progress. So, whenever you see something that you did not like about yourself, just sit down with yourself and hope the next time that does not happen. It just becomes a sort of habit
Mm.
embedded within you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that we have the power and ability within ourselves, outside of God's help,
Yeah.
to change ourselves,
I believe so.
outside of the divine?
I believe so. Is I feel like we need to be put in someone else's shoes, and that's how we change ourselves. So I had to put myself in the shoes of those delivery guys in order for me to understand what they go through. I had to stand outside. So for example, when I give my car to the valet, I don't stand outside inside. I actually stay outside. And I do that because I want to know how it feels like for these men to be standing outside for
So
such
you're
a long time.
practicing empathy.
Exactly. I want to understand so that next time I don't complain. I
Mm.
know how difficult it is. I know that these men are rushing to get the car.
Yeah.
And they come back and they don't even have a break to breathe. It's
Mm.
one car after the other, one person after the other. So we need to put ourselves in their shoes
Mm.
in order for us to really understand their struggles, in order for us to change.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
Yeah, I think that's for sure how we grow in empathy.
Of
That's how we
course.
grow in empathy, to understand um, where other people are coming from, to understand their perspectives, to walk in their shoes, to grow
To
in empathy and
Yeah,
kindness and
yeah.
understanding perspective.
And with that we change. We become different people because our perceptions have changed
Hmm.
and we've grown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You seem like within everything that you've gone through, with dealing with depression for 2 years and criticism and hardship and
Yeah.
um, a lot of emotional pain, um,
Still is.
still is. Um, it seems like you have decided to take responsibility for your life rather than pointing the finger and blaming someone else for your
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah. And I find that that's the difficult part. It's because I'm taking a responsibility. At some point, I was blaming my parents for their divorce.
Mm,
Really blaming them. Like at some point, I wasn't even talking to my mom. Like my mom and I's relationship was terrible.
mm,
But I had to take responsibility and to stop blaming it. It is for what it is. It
mm.
happened. I can't change anything. And I'm
Yeah.
actually very happy that it happened because if it wasn't for them and it wasn't for the pain and the fights and the arguments, I wouldn't be who I am today. I
Mm,
wouldn't understand what family is. I mean, my my ultimate goal in this world is to be a mother. My ultimate goal is to have a stable family with kids because I didn't get it, right? And if it was for the fact that, um, if it wasn't for the fact that my parents got divorced, I wouldn't know what the meaning of family
mm.
is. I would be taking it for granted. Right now, I'm not taking it for granted because I've been through it and I know what it means and what
Yeah.
it feels like not to have it. So I stopped blaming them, and just took responsibility. And I'm like, okay, so if I can't get it, if I wasn't able to get it back then, I'm still able to do it right now and
Mhm.
just work on myself to achieve that sort of goal. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. I think the theme that I keep hearing, throughout this whole thing is those 2 things, those how truths are held in tension. Um, and it seems to be something that inside of you, you're wrestling through on on a daily basis of how do I have healthy boundaries and loving, because healthy boundaries are
yeah,
loving in the midst of pressure. And then how do I be kind to other people and be generous and to make an impact on the world, even though sometimes people are like, well, that's hypocrisy.
yeah, they might think of it in that
Yeah.
aspect.
With the same as you're sometimes you're giving in secret and sometimes you're giving in public and you're getting praise because you're trying to
Yeah,
raise awareness and let other people, well, aren't you being hypocritical? And then the tension of even what you just described with, well, taking responsibility while also realizing that sometimes it's not a responsibility, right? The things that happen to us, we're not responsible for, but we're responsible to them,
yeah,
right? So
that's true.
you're not responsible for the pain and the trauma within your family, but you do have a responsibility to that. You have a responsibility to your mother and to your father and
Yeah,
to
of
your
course.
family. And so I think that's a really important, um, for us to understand as we go through life and we grow older, of the fact that it's all held in tension. And if we're going to walk that out, we have to know when to do which
What?
one and what is the intention
the intention
of
is
our
the
hearts.
the intention is the most important thing. And I usually get criticism on the fact that I show what I do, right?
Mhm.
And they always tell me about the hadith of our prophet. And I'm like, I understand the prophet's words. I understand what he meant to keep things between you and your God. But at the end of the day, it's all about intention. So I'm not going to lie to God. He knows it already if I'm doing it to show off or if I'm doing it to really put a smile on someone's
Yeah,
face. I cannot lie to God. Um, and if you want to take it in any sort of perception, that's you
yeah,
looking at it in that perspective. It's not me
yeah.
who's actually doing that. So, from that point of view, I just started showing not everything, but the most important things that we can create it as a habit in our daily lives
Mhm.
is because we're so busy. We're so busy. We have no time to stop and think about others. Yes, we're thinking about our families, our kids, our our nanny's visa, our passport. If you have a pet, we're thinking about
Mhm.
that pet, but we're not really thinking about what others are going through and how a simple juice or water can make a huge difference to that guy
Yeah,
working outside. I mean, and we do really need that reminder. And I would be blessed to see people reminding one another of such acts. And then
yeah,
when I see someone else doing something good for someone, I actually get happy and I go like, oh, you know what? I should try that next time.
yeah,
I
it's
really want
true.
to, yeah, I
It's
really want
true.
to see how it's going to be. And we're trying to inspire each other. We really need these reminders with such a busy life. We do.
Yes, we do need those reminders. We do need to live a disciplined, focused life, and
Yeah.
in order to do that, we have to be reminded of like, okay, this is really how I ought to live. This is a role model that I can follow. This is a vision that I can
Yeah.
step into. And
And I'm talking about some stuff that are so simple. It doesn't cost much. And there are times where I talk about like random acts of kindness where it doesn't even cost anything,
Mm-hmm.
like a smile. Like I never begin my conversation with hi how without saying hi how are you. It's
Mm.
like a must that
Yeah.
I say hi how are you. When the delivery man come to my house, I tell them at the end, thank you, drive safely.
Mm.
I made it a habit. And this is a part of you being kind to that person because you're actually telling him, I care about your safety, so please drive safely.
Mm-hmm.
Those little things, if we embed them within our lives, can make a huge difference to yourself and to somebody else.
Mm.
And that to yourself, first of all, you feel like you have that sense of purpose, which I feel like all of us
All of
are
us are looking for
looking for.
purpose.
And so, one
All of us
common,
are looking,
yeah,
and that's what
exactly.
I talk about mostly here on this
Exactly.
podcast
And
is
it's our
purpose.
one common, we all have that one common purpose, which is feeling the sense of belonging and the sense of someone else counting on you. Like you actually matter.
Mm.
That someone else knows that without you, he wouldn't be who he is or where he is or how he's feeling. That sense of purpose.
Yeah.
It's very important. It's our humanity, it's a foundation of our humanity.
How have you found? How do you? Okay, here. Do you feel that purpose is something that was built in you, that was born in you from like something that you uncover within you, or is it something that you have to go and create a purpose?
I It could be both. I don't know, but in my in my case, for example, it was something that I had to uncover because I was trying to be and do everything.
Mm.
Interior design never worked out for me in terms of a job. However, it's my passion and I do it separately. And then I was into photography at some point. That did not happen, did not continue.
So you
Uh,
had to taste and try a lot of different things to
yeah,
find out where your passions
exactly.
lied.
Exactly. I was always into sports. Now I just do it as something personal for myself. I always wanted to be that fitness instructor. That never happened.
Yeah.
Um, it was all about going from one place to another, trying to find yourself. And at some point, I had that fight within me that, like to do humanitarian stuff. I always had that.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that aspect of you shouldn't show what you do for others, that kept me away from it. And at some point, I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I'm here. This is my purpose. I need to inspire. I need to motivate. I'm just going to show it to people right now.
Yeah.
And that's when I started talking about it and showing it because I felt like that's my purpose. If when you find something and you're having that struggle and that fight, know that's the one that
Yeah.
is yours.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
It's true when you find that struggle and fight, that thing that you have to fight to step
Yes.
into that you're fearful of.
Yeah.
I always say that, it's the dogs of doom, the dogs of fear that guard the door to destiny. And that it's where we have the greatest amount of fear and struggle and resistance in our life. That's
Yeah.
actually a signal that we should probably walk in that direction
Yeah.
and go through those doors and overcome those fears.
Yeah.
Because that's where greatness lies, on the other
Exactly.
side of those doors.
Yep.
So, Zainab, where can people find you online?
Well, through my personal account and on Instagram. Do I need to mention my name and full name right now?
I mean, you can. It'll be in the show
um,
notes
it's okay. Well, Zainab Sawalhi. Sorry, Zainab Sawalhi. That's the one.
without the alif lam.
Yeah, without the AL.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just translating right now for you.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah.
And on Picture Happiness, which is my official um, movement.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great. One last final question,
sure.
and it's gonna kind of be a doozy. Okay.
Oh,
Are you
okay.
ready for this?
Not really. Go ahead.
Okay. So I believe that if we are giving something to someone that costs us nothing, are we really giving to them? If it's not costing us, if it's not like, is it just vanity? If we're just giving something like to the guys who are out in the sun, okay, we're giving them a glass of water. Yep, that's good. They need a glass of water. You're actually giving something, and those little things do count. But to what point do you feel, because you do this a lot, and I
Yeah.
know you've thought about this a lot. At what point is it like, yeah, that's great to tell people that you can just give them a smile and a smile will help someone. I think it does. I think giving someone kindness, a smile being generous with your emotions and your time, being generous with your words. So many of us,
Yeah.
especially in our marriage, we withhold our generous words, that our words aren't seasoned with grace or kindness or strength or empowering, that we so often withhold love rather than give love. So I know that's important. But I feel like there comes a point where if we're giving something that's costing us nothing, are we really giving something, or are we actually taking and trying to build this image of ourselves? And to what point do we actually have to say, okay, that's great that we're giving of our time and we're giving of our words and our notes. But at what point do we say, actually, yeah, that person that knocked on my door that needs help, I'm gonna give something greater. I'm gonna give something that actually costs me something.
Oh wow, that's deep.
Yeah, I
That's
told you
very
it was a
deep.
doozy.
um
I know you've thought about this.
no, I believe that no act of kindness, no matter how small or big, is ever wasted. And I think every act that you do towards others and towards yourself matters.
Mhm.
Um oh god, I had my thoughts and they just like
I know that.
yeah. Um, okay, all of us, and
Uh, wha
I talk about humanity in general. We
yeah.
all want to feel appreciated and respected.
But isn't that cuts out the alternate, because it's going back to altruism, right?
It does,
So giving a smile, so it's altruistic. Like I'm giving, I'm not getting anything in return, but really, you've said even the more that we
but you
give, the
are
more that we
getting
get. That's what
yeah,
I'm
but you
saying.
are getting something in return.
So exactly. And so at one point do we say, okay, I'm going to this person's my enemy. This person hates me and I hate them. I'm going to give to them of something that's sacrificial in myself, that's painful to give, because I actually want to give something deeper of myself. Like, at what point do we say, okay, it's going to be painful to give this away, where we're actually not going to ever reap benefits
For okay, uh,
without then
for
falling into like unhealthy
for
boundaries,
yeah,
of
for
course.
those type of people, I would say that like the people that you have sort of boundaries or limitations. Not necessarily hate. Hate is such a strong word, but I feel I think I know where.
Let's say someone you hate,
Yeah,
someone that hates you.
someone that hates me. So my mom always taught me that no matter how much you're getting hate from somebody, always be the better person. So
Hmm.
always keep your respect and your manners within you. And that's the only thing I can give them. So, for example, the person that I have the limitations towards, if I see that person, I will still greet them.
Yeah.
I will still say, hi, how are you? Whether a smile is there or not, hi, how are you is
Hmm.
my top sort of respect and manners
Yeah.
that I need to give regardless.
Yeah.
And yes, I may not be getting anything back, but I've stayed true to who I am, to
Hmm.
what I believe in, in a way.
Hmm.
So I don't say but yeah, no. I think it's very difficult because not every single person can do that. And it's very difficult because you feel like you've given something out of you to that person that you hate and you know that they don't deserve it. I understand that. But there are times where where you need to be true to yourself and know that this is something within you. Your manners and your respect is something within you and you've worked so hard for it. That person's not going to really cost much if you just said it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? If you've just used that simple respect and manners sort of communication.
Yeah.
Yeah. That it's not easy. There are times I'll be like, Mom, I don't wanna say hi. I mean, she doesn't even that person doesn't even deserve my hi. But then my mom would tell me
But how can
no.
we go? How can we go past? This is my question, and this is something I think about.
Mm.
It's asking myself, how can I go past the the baseline of what's expected, right? So the baseline is like I'm going to be polite. The baseline is I'm going to give someone a glass of water. The baseline is I'm going to give a smile. How and maybe it's not I mean, most questions, there's a great book by Ralke which says that if we had like that answers, we had to treat answers as they're in a locked room. And we have to just keep on asking that question to live out the question to find the answer. Because if we just had the answer, then, you know, it wouldn't actually do anything. It wouldn't
Life is not
transform us.
interesting.
Yeah. So maybe this isn't a question. Maybe this is just a question to think about for all those who are listening, and for you and for myself, because this is something that I don't have an answer for, but I
Yeah.
try to live out, is how can I not just give a smile, not just write a note, not just be cordial or just polite to someone who's really hurt me, someone that's really pained me. And I have people in my life that I've been really hurt and really pained by. And I think, okay, how can I actually bless that person? How can I to the how can I give something to someone that can never pay me back, but out of a place of
Um,
generosity?
I think I heard something from someone before where they said that until you have reached a healing process within you,
Mm,
is when you reach a point where no matter how much you give to that person that has damaged you, it won't really affect you in any sort of way
for
because
sure.
you've reached a point where
You have
that's
to
it.
be healed
You
first.
have to be
You
fully
have to get
healed.
healed first.
Yeah, yeah. And then yeah, exactly. You have to be healed.
You have to be
You have
healed.
to be healed, and
So
it's not an
step
easy
one,
process.
get healing.
Get healing.
See a professional therapist. Get healing. Get healed. And healing, it comes through forgiveness.
Yeah,
You know,
and
unforgiveness is toxin in our hearts and in our lives. And forgiveness is one of the hardest things to do, but it's unforgiveness, holding grudges, holding bitterness
it
in our
holds you
hearts.
back.
It's drinking
It
poison,
it takes
expecting the
yeah
other person to die. And so, forgiveness has been the path that my wife and I have had to walk out in our relationships. And so, for those of you who
well
are listening on the
good
other
for
side,
you.
forgiveness it's the path to
It's the
unlock.
ultimate key to living.
Oh yeah,
There you go, man.
there it is. Zainab, thank you so much. This was a really emotional conversation.
Yeah, man, no one has ever taken that much information out of me.
Well, good. I'm so glad. It was a pleasure to have you here.
It was a pleasure to be here.
And I hope everyone listening, go follow her, go check her out. But more importantly, go leave kindness. Go get her tickets to kindness. Go put them on cars. Go and be willing to let your good works shine in front of other people, like Zainab is
Yeah.
letting her kindness and generosity and wisdom shine before other
Are
people
you
as
sure I
well.
have the wisdom though?
I mean, we talked a lot about boundaries. We talked like
Yeah.
it takes to in
It
order
takes
for you to overcome 2 years of
yeah.
depression, to overcome and say, okay, I need to set boundaries, to actually take action. There's so many, this, Zainab,
Yeah.
so many people who never take
Action.
action in their lives,
And
who
I
are
don't blame them
victims.
though.
And
Yeah.
and not once have you said anything that has hinted at you feeling like you are a victim of circumstance in your life. But you
Yeah.
were said, it was my responsibility in rising above that place of being a victim or blaming someone else. And I feel that your voice in I feel like as because you're in your early 20s, is that right? How old are
Mid
you? Mid
25.
20s?
I'm
I
25.
I feel like in your 30s, in your later 30s, that and I know you have a platform right now. I know you have a voice right now, but I see in your later 30s you being given this platform and voice, even around like the age of 36, 37, 38, to be able to speak into and mentor girls' lives who have come from a similar place from you, struggling with depression, who's struggling with hardship. And I see you teaching and empowering these girls to get free from these mindsets, from this pain,
Yes.
and releasing girls who are 14, 15, 16, 19 into living purpose filled, intentional lives where they're free from bitterness, free from pain, free from where they're healed. And I just see that in those years, you're gonna actually begin to step into a place that you never expected to be able to walk in your life. And I am excited to
Uh,
wait a decade
let me
to
see.
see that. No, I
Well,
believe it.
I hope so. I hope so. I do see myself as someone that can actually um not just empower, but also allow people to see themselves for they are
Yeah.
and to stand up. If something is causing you pain, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And I say it, and because I've been there, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, we have obligations. Yes, we have demands, and family comes first and everything. But once that causes the pain, the the deep pain within you that
Mm.
takes you and drains you down, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
That's when you need to say, you know what, I'm done. And yes, you're gonna hear so much criticism,
So much.
so much hate, so much. You're this and you're that, and you're selfish and you're cold. And until today, I hear it. Until today, and I don't know when that will stop. But I have to continue because I believe in this. I believe that my
Yeah.
happiness comes first, my peace of mind. In order for me to give back to
Yeah.
people, in order for me to
It's
give
true.
back to my mom and my dad and my sisters, I have to put
Yeah.
my happiness and peace of mind first
Yeah.
so that I can give that to them.
Yeah. It's like what the golden rule that says, love others as you love yourself.
As you love yourself.
Right. So we have to, if we have self-hatred, if we are filled with self-hatred,
That's
self-pity, victim, like we're not able to help others. So we have to get healed first, because
Yeah.
broken people break people and healed people heal people. And so we have to move, like you're saying, we have to move into that place of healing and wholeness, so that and actually love ourselves, knowing that we are loved, knowing that the foundation of our identity is that we are loved, period, first and foremost. And from that,
Know your worth.
yep,
Know your worth.
and from
Yeah.
that, we can then actually begin to give to others.
Yeah. And everything will become a reflection of who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so
This
much.
is so interesting.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
I
you
know
for
we could
having me
probably
here.
talk for another. I'm
I
trying
know.
to be respectful of your time a little bit more. So thank you so much for being here on the show, On the Future. And we'll see you next time.
Inshallah. Thank you so much for
Inshallah.
having me here.
Thank you for being
Honestly, it's
here.
such an amazing opportunity.
I loved it. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode of Own the Future with Zainab AlSawalhi. I hope that you took a lot from this. If you know someone who's struggling with depression, struggling with trying to find a purpose, or just have no boundaries in their life and they're looking to make some changes, send this episode on to them, as it will encourage them to make the hard choices, the hard decisions to begin their journey to healing and wholeness. And please, if you're struggling, reach out to me, reach out to my wife, or find a professional trained therapist who can help you walk through some of these really difficult seasons and times in your life. Finally, I don't know if you know this, but this is episode 105 of Own the Future. Please go back, and if you've enjoyed this episode, go back and listen to some of the other episodes of Own the Future and the solo segment, Weaver and Loom, where we talk about how to weave your destiny, how to own your story, own your future, and create a better world for you and your children and for future generations. That's all for today. I'm Lucas Skrobot, and remember, if you own your story, you can own the future.